Hey guys, Bic Mitchum here, and we've got FireGuyGaming here for the third time. How you doing, Fire Guy?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Sounds like you're a little bit under the weather today.
Slightly ill, but the show must go on, as they say.
All right, so I thought I'd bring you on again just to. There's been a lot of change to both your channel, the community, and just the state of Battlefront in general since you were last here. So I thought you're a guy that gives us lots of opinions, and people either like or hate your opinions. So we'll see we'll see what people think of this one. So
Sounds good.
so getting right into it, how are you feeling about Star Wars Battlefront 2 in general right now?
Uh, really, it's a difficult one because despite with everything coming out that has with all the Clone Wars and everything like that, it did just feel a bit stretched out, and I don't know really. I mean, we waited so long for Grievous, and then he finally arrived, and then it was such a long time period after that until Anakin the new game mode was hit. So I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like we've been drip fed, and then when that update finally comes out, there's a bit of hype for a week, let's say, and then it slowly drops down again. I mean, apparently the player numbers have increased, which I suppose is good.
I'm wondering your thoughts on the way that they release content because Capital Supremacy, for example, had a lot of issues. Would it not make sense to set a release date and then say have the weekend or 2 weeks even before have like a beta weekend where people play it and try it before they officially release it so that they can at least save some face a little bit with these bugs and glitches?
Yeah, I mean they could do that. The bugs and glitches is a huge problem. An excuse a lot of people use is there's bugs in every game, but I can't say I've ever played a game like I have Battlefront with that many bugs in it. It's kind of getting ridiculous. So testing could work for a lot of people. I mean, they claim they test these updates before they come out. They clearly don't test them thoroughly enough because if they did, simple bugs wouldn't be getting through. Like, for example, when you play Capital Supremacy, you go up to one of the capital ships, the cutscenes don't even load in straight away. Something as simple as that seems to be escaping the devs.
So when they test, they must be testing on a very small sample size. Like, would they even have 20 people on each side? And then would they like that? That's kind of what I wonder. Is are they playing this game mode for 10 hours a day for a month, or are they finishing it up a week before they have to submit it and not really getting a lot of time to? That's kind of
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The one like I just mentioned with the cutscenes when you're going up to the capital ships. I don't understand. You could have like a player on each side, and still they should be noticing something like that. So it, it poses the question: how long? What's the time period like in between testing and actually releasing these updates? Like ever since January, the communication's been terrible anyway. So I in a lot of ways, I think maybe they're testing these things or even completing certain things and then releasing them not that long after because we were getting what was it? It was neither the February or March update where we got two transmissions less than 24 hours before the update launched. So there's serious issues if this is happening, but they claim that's down to the approval system as well. So it's kind of still in a bit of a mess.
well. I disagreed with one of their decisions with the Count Dooku update, and I actually benefited a lot from it. I was actually streaming just before it came out, like well into the late into the night, and we didn't see what Dooku looked like in game until the update was here.
Yeah.
Was that done on purpose?
I don't think it was done on purpose. I kind of did like it. I felt there was a lot of mystery before I used Count Dooku. Like when I loaded the game up, I was seeing him for the first time, like everyone else was, unless they'd saw images on Twitter and stuff like that. I do think it was kind of good having that mystery, but at the same time, if they want to market these updates to the wider audience, then they need promotional images and everything like that.
Right. Yeah, I feel like they set themselves up to have something leaked also, and have their story spoiled anyways.
It's possible. I really don't know what went on there. It was clear when they came back from the holiday celebrations that the preparation just seemed to have gone completely, because the January update, the preparation there was abysmal. Really.
So moving on, there's an announcement this week with, or last week, either or, with Australia having the highest sales for Star Wars Battlefront on PS4, I believe. What I personally feel like those numbers are a little skewed, and that news is actually not as good as people think it is. What are your thoughts?
I'm debating, like, when this goes up, I'll have never made a video on it or have, but I'm debating whether to make one on it. I don't think it is as good as people making it out to be. I mean, it's just the most sold game in Australia for 1 week. There's so many weeks in a year, so 1 week, and also just in Australia as well. It's still a big achievement, definitely. I mean, seeing some of the games it's come above, but I don't think it is as big as people make it out to be. The main thing I bring up is stream numbers, which I've seen as significantly down for not just myself, but a lot of people. If it was just for me, then that's acceptable, but I'm seeing it for a lot of people as well. Then either staying the same or they're going down. And then an argument there is, well, Battlefront's just not a fun game to watch streamed. Unlike games like Fortnite, I've seen that brought up a lot, but some things are adding up here, because if it's the most sold game but stream numbers are going down, it seems like that's a point a lot of people seem to avoid, but something's not adding up there.
I know there has been a pretty big increase in Australian Battlefront YouTubers. I see Sammy Boy, Aussie Jedi, Twisted Jedi, AWalsh are all enjoying some success, so maybe they're getting people excited. But I just think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's a fair point, actually. There's I think there's more Australian YouTubers from anywhere else, to be honest, and they're all doing significantly well. So I suppose if there was a lot of, let's say, I don't know, British or American YouTubers, if there was as many as there is right now Australian YouTubers, maybe the same would be happening.
Right, but I also think my personal opinion is that with Star Wars Celebration last week, the announcement of Fallen Order, like, people are hyped about Star Wars games. They go on their PlayStation store and there's Battlefront for, probably less than 1 hour of work. So they throw that on, they play it a few times, they see it's really, they're just getting their Star Wars fix. I don't think we'll see anything like that again. I think it was just a kind of a blip in the...
Just why Australia, though? I mean, the only reason I could think of is the one you said, because of the rise in YouTubers in Australia, but it's just a bit random, really. Like, why is it the best-selling game for that particular week in Australia, but not the US or the UK or pretty much anywhere?
And the number is a little bit skewed. Like, it definitely wouldn't be gross sales. It would be units sold. Would that be correct? Because I feel like at $7, it's going to sell a ton of units.
Yeah, it could be it. It's a weird one. I'd like to find out some more statistics behind that right now, because it did come as a bit of a surprise to me and so many people as well. But I can't deny that if that is the case, which I'm sure they're not lying, it's definitely true, then it's definitely an up that should be pointed out. Definitely happy for EA and DICE.
Yeah, there's definitely something good there, because the game's almost 2 years old, so for it to lead anything is actually there is some good to that for sure.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the dirty stuff.
Let's do it.
So community sometimes has a lot of harsh words about you and the way that you conduct yourself, and the word toxic gets thrown around quite a bit. How do you feel about that word? Like, does that word describe you, do you think?
No, it doesn't describe me, but some people may interpret that from my content. I mean, I feel like we were having this discussion last year as well, and if I'm doing this next year as well, it would probably come up again. If you have an opinion that is different or that is against the game in any type of way, even if you like for example with the March update, I pointed out so many positives, but just that one negative of not being fond of capital supremacy seemed to take over. If you just point out one negative, then you get labelled as toxic, unfortunately. But I wouldn't say at all that describes me personally.
Because I see the word getting thrown around quite a bit, and I kind of
Yeah.
have a small activity, if you will, which may or may not work out. But so I've got a few names,
Yeah.
and we're
Okay.
going to assign, and we can do it together or individually,
All right.
as with 10 being toxic and 0 being the opposite of toxic, I guess we'll say. What would be
All
the
right.
opposite of toxic?
Pleasant.
Pleasant? Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah.
0 being
Okay.
completely pleasant and perfectly
Yeah.
community oriented.
Okay.
So, first thing I want you to do is put yourself on that scale of 1 to 10.
Um, realistically, like a 2 or a 3. If people actually watch me and recognize how I behave, then I'm not toxic at all. I know that because I think we always focus on the people who hate me, but there's also a lot of people who really like me as well, and I know the way I behave is not toxic.
Well,
So yeah, I'd say
there's
two
at
or
least
three.
30,000 of them that like you.
Yeah, exactly. And the ones who the people who think I'm toxic are in a far smaller number. So yeah, I think it's fair to say I'm not toxic.
Where would Bic Mitchum number 2 fall on that scale?
um, like maybe are we allowed to go over 10? No, I'm joking. Like maybe yes. I don't know because he is just there's something people fail to find the difference between is toxicity and just having a bit of fun. And I think he's just having a bit of fun. Maybe he goes over the line sometimes. Don't we all? I'd say like maybe a 5 or a 6.
A 5 or 6? Nice. What about Battlefront Night?
I, I don't know. I don't think he's bad. I understand. I recognize a few of his early videos were misleading to an extent, but I think he's learned from that. I've seen the argument posed that, well, he's got the subscribers now, he can do whatever he wants, he's got the audience. Well, I don't think he's that bad. I'd say like a 2. I don't think he's toxic.
Nice. How can we get to that? How can we get that high number? What about Swanyplaysgames?
Um, he's realistic. The amount of times I support him publicly a lot, but the amount of times I've clicked on his videos and he's said something that I really don't want to happen, like he's predicted that something will be delayed or something like that, and I've clicked on it and I've completely disagreed with him, but he's always been right. So I don't think being correct makes him toxic. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'd say like a 2 or a 3 once again. I don't believe he's toxic.
What about so we use the word toxic to pleasant, but sometimes people really call out YouTubers that like the game a little bit too much. Like someone like an Azatru, where would you put them on that scale? Someone that would defend things that maybe shouldn't be defended.
So you mean just that type of YouTuber in general, or a specific person?
Um, I don't want to say like I like Azatru, and I think he gets a lot of hate where he doesn't deserve it. I use it as an example because he was getting a lot of hatred at one point. But let's use it as a general term
Okay,
because I don't think
because
Azatru is toxic at all.
I I think a YouTuber who defends the game in general, and sometimes even when the game goes through tough times, will defend it. I wouldn't class them as toxic either because I can I can understand their points. To be honest, they're playing this game and they don't want to admit to the bad things all the time, and also they just want to enjoy it. So I wouldn't say defending it constantly is toxic either. If you disagree with someone and you try to say their opinion is invalid because you disagree with them, then that's toxic. But I wouldn't say someone who defends the game either is toxic, as long as they go the right way about it.
So what I'm kind of gathering is that at least based on your opinion, the term toxic is just way too overused. And if I were to pick someone that's completely toxic, and I'm not going to throw the name out there, but I can think of a few actually, that would just completely degrading people. Making videos completely trashing someone to say that they're a terrible YouTuber. They think they should be dead, etc. Like I think people really forget what a toxic person actually is, and creating 15 accounts and disliking someone's video just because they oppose their view, like those kind of behaviors I consider a lot more toxic than just disagreeing with someone else.
That's the overall point I've tried to convey here, that really just because we're out here disagreeing with each other sometimes doesn't make any of us toxic. But there's a certain line that has to be crossed to be considered toxic. But just because I have a different opinion, sometimes I'm labelled as that. Really, I don't think I am. And a lot of the people who disagree with me, if they go the right way about it, I also don't believe they're toxic. It's when someone attacks for no reason and really goes in on that person for no apparent reason. That's toxic.
So if I were to put you on the spot and ask you what do you think would be the most toxic thing you've ever done on your channel, if there was something to be labeled as such?
I mean, there's the whole, I don't know if you've seen it, but the situation with the month review series, I got labelled as harassing and bullying people with that, which I completely disagree with, because referring back to my point, I said if someone goes out and deliberately attacks that person just for having a different opinion, then that's toxic, and all I've kind of done back to those people is joke around. I wouldn't say that makes me toxic, so I disregard that one. Well, then again, I've not always got it right. Sometimes maybe I've joked live on stream. I've claimed the devs are lazy, or maybe, and don't work, even though it's a joke. Not the best thing to say, and I'd hold my hands up and say, a year on, because I'd say that was the stuff I was doing really last year. I wouldn't say that's the nicest thing to do.
Yeah, I've noticed that's
maybe not, but I wouldn't say it's a good thing to be doing, and I would certainly not go about doing that now.
So that's kind of is going to roll into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, was your game changer status. I think we've kind of labeled why you get such a hard time about it, but do you agree with any of the points that are made about your status, or do you feel you genuinely hold up your end of the game changer program?
I think at this point, by hold it up, what do you mean exactly then?
In that you don't break any of you don't misrepresent them or misrepresent the game or anything like that.
I think with there's a situation like game changer position where I don't fully agree with it to an extent now, and when I got it, it came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it, because it was it was right after my stream ban as well. So when I got it, I said, like, I might as well think of this as every day as my last day, because I never know when I'm going to lose it. With the way I go on, I don't know really if it is. If I was EA, I would want me representing them, because they want people who will promote their games in a good way. I'm not saying you can't criticize the game, but someone like me who does like to joke around and will share different opinions, I don't always know if it is the best route for me. I think for now, what a good idea is, something I've kind of agreed with EA and DICE as well, I think it's a mutual agreement, is that we should just go separate ways for the time being, just because my goal is very different to theirs.
That's fair enough. I remember you, I believe it was the first podcast we did together, and we may not have even used I may not have even used the segment we talked about the Game Changer program, and you had said that if you became a game changer, it wouldn't change the way that you make content, or the way that you would still, as long as you would become a game changer, as long as everything was okay with the way that you made content. So
Yeah, I think that's the thing, really. I don't understand EA appointing me in the first place, and that's something I really haven't understood. I've tried to get my head around it, but in my opinion, there's two ways why they never appointed me in the first place, and that was because they believe they could maybe handle me. I don't think they can, to be honest, or they believe that they could change my outlook and the way I behave, and they've failed to do both of those things. So I think they took a risk with me, and I don't think they'd take a risk like that again, to be honest.
well, I
Because
think that you make it very clear in your streams. I've heard you say this at least twice, that you're misunderstood in the fact that you want this game to work. You want this game.
Yeah.
You would like this game to be supported forever if possible, and
Yeah.
you like Star Wars. You like what the the game can be. So you're gonna hash it out as long as you possibly can, because ultimately you want the game to succeed. So maybe that's where
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
but that could be where they made the decision in the first place.
It could. I just think for now it's wise if EA do. They've got guys on that program who I know they don't agree with a lot of what I say, but I think they're more fitting to the role. And I think they should be the focus of EA and not me, because it's quite clear that I've tried out with them and I can't go down the route I intend to go down if I've got EA governing me for most of it, if you will. So I think for now it is wise. It's kind of a mutual agreement, to be honest, if we go separate ways.
Fair enough. We'll leave that topic there and move on to a new hot topic, which is Anakin. And there's no doubt he's overpowered. And I've kind of got the question to ask you: how should he work? Like how can we get to a place where he's not going to be the topic of every rage video?
Anakin is a tough one. Once again, this could be out by the time this podcast goes live, but I've been working on a series really analysing all the heroes, and what Anakin has done to the heroes side is, when it comes to overall health between what the villains have and what the heroes have, Anakin's increased that. I think Anakin's base health maybe should be, it's 800 minus the star cards. Maybe one of the star cards can give him 200 extra health. Maybe only allow that card to give him an extra 150, then drop his base health to 700. 750, I'd say. That could help. But one main thing that I don't see people pointing out is you can pull an enemy with Anakin, and then as soon as you pull them towards you, you can passionate strike them to the ground. I feel there should be a delay in between those abilities being used, so once you pull an enemy, you can't passionate strike for a few seconds after that, because that's just a deadly combination.
No, that's fair. I think that's a pretty fair statement. I see it so much on every stream that I visit. Everyone's complaining about Anakin, and it's no one is saying that he. Well, there are some people saying he should be buffed as a joke, but when I can understand when you release a new hero that you want him. I'd rather him be too strong than too weak, but it's been well over a month that he's been in the game, and he's had how many nerfs? 3?
I think I'm pretty sure it's 2 right now, but he's gonna get the 3rd one as we're recording this now in like 3 days, so it's going to be 3.
Okay.
The first nerf, I wouldn't even call that a nerf. That was just more like fixing the game for being completely broken, because he was doing 1,000 health to enemies. That's something that should not have even made it into the game in the first place. I remember when that first came out as well, I was defending it, like he's the chosen one, everything like that. It took me a bit longer to come to the realization of how unbalanced Anakin is, but now I'm finally at that point. Nothing like that should have been allowed into the game.
No, I agree. What are your thoughts on so recently Swanyplaysgames has decided to do YouTube and Twitch full time. Do you have a number or some sort of like, where is that line where it's you think it's okay or appropriate to do YouTube full time?
First of all, I think I'm secretly jealous of his decision, definitely, because I wish I could do that. At the same time, I am in a position where I could potentially. And my views have dropped off a bit, not entirely down to the audience, either down to myself and consistency and just balancing it with real life commitments. But it all depends on the point, because someone could just be getting so many. It's all down to views, obviously. So they could just be getting 1 million views plus a month, and that could carry them doing it full time. Or if you've got a successful Patreon, like right now, my Patreon's really helping me continue to do this. So it's comparing it as well to like your real life situation. So if you're currently in a job, you have to compare it to that, which works out better. Obviously, if you're doing YouTube full time, you can eliminate like travel money from that. Tax is also different with YouTube, because you do get taxed on super chats, everything like that. So there's a different that you've got to walk your way around tax a bit differently as you would if you were in a real job as well. So there's many different things to take into consideration with it.
No, for sure. I guess you brought up a good point about economically where someone is located is pretty big also. Yeah. I'm in the city that I live in right now is currently the one of the highest costs of living in my entire country, versus where I previously lived last year is one of the lowest. So just throwing numbers out there, my rent was 785 Canadian dollars in my previous place. My new place is $2,500. So
there's an increase.
So the difference in terms of what I would. Now, I'm not saying that Bic Mitchum is going to do YouTube full time. That's certainly not in the even long term plan. But something like that would be a pretty big thing to consider, as your cost of living also, and what how comfortably you want to live. Because I mean, you could probably you could easily live off of a box of pasta or a box of rice, but you want to have that quality of life to live off of as well, and to save for your future, because you don't know, tomorrow YouTube could disband and fall apart.
I think one of the I'll say one of I have not really said this anywhere yet, but personally one of the big drawbacks of doing YouTube full time, and something I've noticed especially, is that it doesn't give you that experience that an employer is looking for. And this is something I've had to unfortunately experience like firsthand, that although someone could maybe, I don't know, do an editing course for a few years, I don't know, they could do a 1-year editing course, and then I'm sat here and I've been editing, doing my own thumbnails, my own videos, some of them require more editing than others, but still I'm getting that experience. An employer is more interested in the person who's done the official course. Most of the time they don't care if you've had a YouTube channel or if you've worked for yourself or anything like that. And that's something that, to me, I'm only 20 right now, but that's worrying, because if I was to keep at this for years and years, and then one day eventually does die, I'm in a bit of there's a bit of a predicament there as to how much experience do I have, and how much experience is an employer willing to recognize.
No, absolutely. As someone that does hiring for a pretty reputable business, when I see self-employed on a resume, and I'm typically less apt to go down that road, because self-employed could be many number of different things, and you can't really properly compare what you're doing to someone else that actually has experience under an actual employer or a recognized program. It's kind of it's hard to make that apple to apple kind of comparison to say, why would I hire this guy that's making goofy videos on YouTube versus someone that's actually editing for Electronic Arts video game.
Yeah.
Even when maybe deep down what they're doing is way less significant than maybe they're not even really doing anything. Maybe they're just a play tester. Maybe they don't even know anything about programming or editing, and it just looks better because they're with a reputable company.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's unfortunate it's that way. Well, that's something I'd say to anyone doing YouTube full time. Not if it's a huge 1 million sub plus channel who's clearly probably made they're probably made for life at that point. Then I wouldn't say they need to worry about it. To anyone who's doing it full time, and it's kind of maybe a temporary full time thing, if you understand what I mean. So they don't know how long it's going to be full time for. It just depends how long the views stay up for, I suppose. One thing to look out for is during that time you're doing YouTube as a job, you are losing time as well, where you could be getting experience that an employer would recognize.
I'm gonna go a little off track here. So I've noticed, as one of your subscribers for a few years, that in your streams and getting to know you in podcasts through Discord and things like that, is you have a very humorous side. Would you ever go down that road in YouTube as to showing off some of your making some more like parodies, humorous pieces? Like, a lot of your things are pretty serious, so about the game updates and things like that. Would you ever consider going down that road of making content that's maybe mocking things or parodies, I guess, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, that's. I wish the people who hated me as much as they claim realized that I'm actually quite humorous. It's just they seem to watch the serious stuff. But that's the month review series that I do. It doesn't even do as good as my other stuff views wise, really. But I keep it up because I enjoy that humor side. I also did the song with the Star Bazaar last year, the This Is Coaxium song, and I wouldn't say much has been discussed, but we've slightly talked about maybe doing something again when it goes down the music route, but it's early days and it may not even happen. But I would like to do more stuff like that. That's the unfortunate thing with being in the Star Wars community right now. There's so much divide between the fans, so most of the time it requires everyone to be serious, and if you're joking around, then people don't take you seriously enough.
I think it's kind of, you brought up a good point about the month review series, that you enjoy it so much that it doesn't do as well, but that's kind of where I know on our channel making that parody song that
I love that, by the way. That was great.
But that was something that I would come home from work and be excited to work on. Like, it was something that I was having fun with and enjoying, and maybe if people are lucky, they might hear a lot of the maybe someday I'll release a lot of the fails.
I'd love to see that,
because if that's if that version is the best one, there were certainly some that I would send to Bic too that we would have a pretty good laugh about. So that could probably garner some laughs, but I enjoyed that project from start to finish, and it was something that I had a longer timeline on, but because I was enjoying it so much, it came out way faster than I originally intended, just because I was having so much fun with it. And I think that's what YouTube deep down needs to be about.
Yeah, I think doing music in general is just so fun to do. I think editing This Is Coaxium is the most fun I've had on YouTube, and that was difficult to do as well, because I know I could have achieved. I don't edit too much of my videos because it's mostly discussion, but that was my opportunity to go all out, if you will, and really, do something with my editing. But it was difficult at the same time because of the restrictions and no private matches. But even with those restrictions, like recording This Is Coaxium and editing that is the most fun I've had.
No, it's certainly, and it's pretty rewarding too to get the positive comments whenever you do make something that you really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking of capital supremacy? So we don't really have. I guess we have a loose roadmap of the future, and I'm kind of on the more reserved side when it comes to this because we're not getting the previous game season passes were all outlined. We knew what we were getting in advance, and it was sufficient content. It was maps, weapons, star cards, heroes, ability, everything, the whole package. And now we're getting this, for example, capital supremacy. The roadmap of the future is new maps for this game mode, and that just makes me think of the previous game when a new game mode would come out on all of the maps. You know what I mean? Like it's like we get one map at a time, and this is called content. I'm a little perplexed. Maybe you can share your opinion on this.
Their definition of the word content from Battlefront 1 to Battlefront 2 is very different. And that's the main problem. They really should have specified early days, and I know they got set behind by, 6 months? But they should have specified, at least back in June when it was EA Play and the stuff was announced, like how different content would be, because our expectations are just so different. Like in the last game, understandably, we were paying for the DLC, but we began like 2 heroes, 4 maps, star cards, everything like that. Now we're supposed to get excited over Capital Supremacy having 1 planet for its launch. It's just different. That's the main problem. Fair enough if this was a different game from Battlefront 1 or a different game series, if you will. But considering it's the predecessor to Battlefront 1, it's just very, very different from that first game.
In my, I made a video a couple weeks ago just outlining what I think would really help Battlefront 2, and it was like a leaderboard system, and it kind of, or I guess the introduction of statistics in general, also to have that kind of feeling of progression, I guess, or gain, like getting better, actually seeing yourself ranked, actually having this kind of purpose within the game. Like I feel like I don't play when I play the game, I don't get that like I want to play one more round feeling like I did with the previous game, where it was like I'm getting close to ranking up, or I'm getting close to getting my KD from 0.99 to 1. Like I don't, like, this game just seems to not have that kind of addicting feeling that the previous one had, and I feel like it kind of comes back to that. Like, there's just no purpose. I've been ranked 50 since the first month of the game. I think people forgot that you could even rank up.
Oh, I forgot actually. Because I've been on my PS4 account a few times when I've been like away and stuff. And I've managed to get on PS4, and I was ranking up, and I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this is in the game actually.
It's just it's strange that we haven't. We're the content is one new map, one on a game mode, like pushing this game mode back. Like it seems like I would love to just have something come out where like that Clone Wars DLC to me was two content drops at most, spread way out. Like, you know, they stretched so thin.
Yeah, that was it for me. I mean, there was, like I said at the start, really, there was like points where I'd wait for, if you looked at my channel last year, just how much I wanted that Clone Wars content, but they stretched out so much. I remember waking up on the morning of Anakin, and I had to, really kind of make myself excited for that. I just didn't really feel anything because we'd waited so long for it, and that wasn't so much a problem with Grievous or Obi-Wan. I think it was after Obi-Wan, even though we'd waited a long time for those two, it was after Obi-Wan we had that month's break with December, which fair enough, Christmas break, but we'd had like nothing all year. So then obviously December was underwhelming, and when it came to Dooku and after what happened then with Anakin, my whole I don't know, I just lost all motivation really for it. It's really since Anakin's arrived, like my motivation's just gone down because of how stretched out it all was. The game mode being cancelled as well didn't help. Or not cancelled, sorry, delayed.
And I just think that, like, so Dennis announces it at EA Play, and then we get our first roadmap, and it says winter, fall. Like, I feel like we should have, and even for the better, like for themselves, like a strict deadline that they can say, this date is when we're gonna have this done by. Have them shoot to have it done a month early, and then I just feel like there's just too much, I guess, flying at the seat of their pants. I guess they're just, there's too much. They're winging it a little too much, and it's leading to all these delays and people being pissed off. And
well, I remember saying, like, it was in a stream not long after the EA Play announcement, I said, like, imagine if Dooku and Anakin ended up coming, like, I can't remember if I said it was those two, but I said something along the lines of, imagine if insert piece of content here ended up coming in, like, early 2019, and, well, you know, that ended up happening. But at the time, after that EA Play announcement, there was just so much hype. If I'd have made a video on that saying the Clone Wars content isn't what it's being made out to be, along the lines of that, probably would have got called just toxic as always, and would have been clickbaiting, quote unquote clickbaiting. So yeah, but that ended up happening. I always thought they were gonna, like, I was fine with them doing Obi-Wan and Grievous at different times to Anakin and Dooku, but not as big of a gap as they left between them. And also, I think it should have been one hero and villain at the same time, because that just made it so people are always leaving on the side that hasn't had any new content added to it. Well, that's a different debate.
I would love to find when this was first announced and we first got our first roadmap and it said winter for Anakin and Dooku, I sent a super chat to Battlefront Updates that said, are you excited about getting Anakin the last week of February, or something along those lines? And I said, because technically winter can go into February, March, if we're looking at the seasons based on technically speaking. And he laughed and he said, no, Bic Mitchum, they wouldn't do that to us. I would love to go back and find that wherever it was, because it was, he definitely said, well, no. We're talking winter, like December, January.
I think at the latest. To be honest, just to raise a point, but it could be difficult to find.
Yeah, I would love to find that, but I like, it was, yeah, I don't even know if he keeps all of his streams up or what, but I suppose I could look at my credit card and see if I can find the transaction, because you can't see.
I mean, I wouldn't blame him in that situation either. If he had said that to me, this is coming from someone who has pretty low expectations for this game, but even I would have thought at the time, like last week of February, I highly doubt that. But they went and did it.
Craziness. So last thing I had on my list here is, so we have the Star Wars Episode 9 teaser. What was your overall opinion of that video?
I am worried about them destroying Vader's arc, and well, pretty much that with the Emperor coming back. I always thought, the thing is, at the same time, I've always kind of said that the reason 7, 8, and 9, or as it is, as it was at the time before the 9 trailer, I always thought 7 and 8, the sequel trilogy in general, felt detached, was because all of a sudden the protagonist is different and she's not a Skywalker, and I know some people say Kylo's the protagonist, but also mainly the villain is different. The Emperor is the villain of this saga, but now they brought him back. It feels forced more than anything, but at the same time, I have said this trilogy doesn't feel right because it has a different villain, and they've gone and brought the Emperor back, so I am willing to give them a chance with this. I'm not, when people are asking me on stream about the trailer, I'm trying not to say anything bad about it, because this could be what it needs. It just raises the point as to who was Snoke, but really I am more impressed with that trailer, because I'm glad they've they have listened in the sense that they didn't give us a trailer full of DJ coming back, and Rose didn't get a single bit of screen time in the trailer, so they clearly know what we want. I trust JJ, to be fair, and instead of I think he's going to retcon Rey to be a Skywalker, which I'm fine with. I've said if Rey's a Skywalker, I'll take back everything bad I've ever said about her, because that makes complete sense. So right now, I want to give them this movie, let them explain everything. He's got a hard job. JJ's got a hard job after what happened with 8, but let's give them the chance with 9, and then if it really doesn't add up after that, then they've got no more movies to make it up with, really, because they can do it in the expanded material, but that's not going to matter because the vast majority only watch the movies. So I'm prepared to give them this chance and see what happens.
Do you think the title's a little misleading, perhaps? Like, is it meant to say like Luke will be back? Is it meant to say Rey is a Sky? Like, what's?
I don't know. When it comes to the title, we got trolled by the Last Jedi title because that ended up being nothing in the end. But at the same time, the title, because who's the Phantom Menace? Is that Palpatine? Is that Maul? That title never determined that movie for me. And really, the title things I recognize the films by, they have no significance. Attack of the Clones. What does that mean? The clones rescue the Jedi. They attack the Federation starships, I suppose. But there's no huge attack that changes the Star Wars galaxy forever. Empire Strikes Back. They can mean anything. These titles, they don't. My point is, they're not misleading or anything like that. They're just titles to me. I don't think they really reveal much about anything in these.
We got
movies.
the Return of the Jedi is 6 and the Last Jedi is 8. It's just kind of, like you said, it's.
Yeah, I don't. Overall, I don't read too much into the title, and really, like, for all that I know, Revenge of the Sith could be a really bad title, but I'm never going to think of it because I love the movie. But the if I did, I kind of just saw Revenge. That was the first Star Wars movie I saw, so I kind of just saw that when I was younger. I never thought the title, but if I'd have been the age I am now, back then, and I'd have heard the title and had all those months to prepare before seeing the movie, maybe I'd have hated that title. I just don't think the title matters too much. Star Wars, how does that relate to it? There's walls in the sky, I suppose. It really doesn't matter too much at all.
Oh, it's definitely going to be good. I think it doesn't. The thing that'll be good about it is that the Last Jedi. It can't go any lower, I don't think. Last Jedi went through the floor in terms of ratings. It's so down there. I don't think it can be topped in a negative sense. So they have that aspect going for them. I think what they're really battling against is Star Wars fatigue. Is just that there's just so Disney's trying to squeeze every dollar out of this franchise, and I think they're gonna realize that they've got to take a break when they see the I think the numbers are gonna still be low for this movie.
There's a lot of mistakes that have been made, I think, but it's a hard one. I'm worried about 8 becoming just irrelevant, really. And that's what it looks like. It looks like JJ's just going back on everything. I know JJ had involvement with episode 8, but Ryan was he was the director. He was ahead of everyone. You can be, because I know I've seen people say, well, JJ was involved, so he did agree with Ryan's direction. Doesn't mean that, because you can be involved with a team, but if you're not the leader of that team, you don't get the final say. And I think that's what happened with JJ. He didn't get the final say with 8, so he comes in, builds up this new generation. And do I agree with everything he did in 7? No, but he set it up really nicely. Then Ryan comes in, kind of destroys that. So it's up to JJ to repair everything now. But he's in. Ryan couldn't have set it up any worse for him here. I think JJ's got the toughest job in the world, and there's a reason he turned down this movie first time. So if the numbers aren't great, and then if the Star Wars fatigue business comes back up again, I can't blame him. I think this all stems from The Last Jedi.
No, I agree. I certainly agree. I think the movie's going to be mediocre at best, and that goes back to The Last Jedi just pissing people off enough that they're all Star Wars out. I mean, I liked Solo, to be honest. I thought it was a lot better than people went on, and I think that was that Last Jedi. They still had that bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, I mean, like, it really annoys me what Solo, because I love that movie. No Star Wars movies felt the same since Disney have taken over, apart from that one. Force Awakens was good, but it still wasn't up there with the original six, because I just love all the original six. I don't care about any of the hate towards them. I just love them because I suppose it's what I grew up with, and that's fair to anyone who grows up with the sequels as well and loves those. But I wasn't too fond of Force Awakens. I like it, amazing. Last Jedi was just diabolical. Rogue One as well. I liked Rogue One, but once again, just not up to scratch with the original six. But Solo was just amazing, and I would say that is up there with the original six. Maybe even better than some of them in cases, and it's unfortunate that that had to be the movie that had to face the backlash.
No, I think it's good. I think it did a good job of bringing us back to the original, kind of tying up some loose ends, I guess you'd say. Some of the...
I struggle to say anything bad about it, to be honest. Every time I rewatch it, I just really enjoy it. I don't like 3 too much, but I really struggle to say anything bad about that. It really just reminds me of like the Underworld kind of episodes of the Clone Wars, which is why I like it. It's not really like a Han Solo movie, but if Episode 9 kind of faces what happened with that movie, then it's in real trouble.
Well, I guess what we'll do here is, I think that's enough about the movies. Is we'll kind of wrap up on the and call it a day. I think you have a stream coming up here pretty soon, so
Yeah,
you're gonna be tired of talking. But thanks a lot for coming in and joining us. I think I don't have a lot of positive feelings about Battlefront moving forward. I feel like, looking back on it so far, is that maybe there's never been that change. It felt like early 2018 they really got it together and the communication was up and they announced the Clone Wars, but I think we're back into that funk of... I think it all... I'm going to say it, and people disagree with me all the time. I think it all comes back to the game doesn't make enough money. And until it does make money, they're not going to have enough of the resources to meet the fans' expectations.
Yeah, that is what it comes down to, really. If they're not financially supporting this, and look at the promotion Fallen Order gets, because it gets promotion. When this game got a Clone Wars trailer, didn't really see it promoted anywhere. It was just put on YouTube, no advertisements, anything like that. But if it isn't getting that support, then long term this game can't go as far as other popular games. People are coming back and it's doing well, but it's never going to be up there with a lot of the other big games right now if it doesn't get that promotion.
I really think that everything should be free to play, but I feel like if they released everything a week early for like skin wise, I feel like, and they could only buy it with crystals that for that first week, I feel like that would add a huge... I don't want to say huge, but right now everyone just has so many credits that no one's using crystals to buy skins.
Yeah, the whole skin situation. I mean, I've given up trying to even explain this because a lot of my viewers are struggling to understand this one. It's like, just make all these skins, but they're not going to do it. They know they're not going to make enough off it. The skin situation is a mess. That's the problem. They can't make a lot of money off this game. They can only really make money off sales right now, and the game isn't that dear anymore anyway. So financially, I don't see what their game plan even is.
Well, like if you take sales, like it's $7 a game, they've got to sell to make $1 million. They've got to sell what, 125,000, say?
Exactly.
Like that's, I don't know. I think they're out to launch on this one. I think they're, until they figure out something that's going to financially they're going to benefit from, then, like, again, I'd suggested in that video, if they had some sort of a ranking program where the top 1,000 people get a skin a month early, or people can buy it for $20, a legendary skin, like something, like, get some sort of make some money off this thing. Like, you're using such a well-known franchise. Like, there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
The casino crates were just like, that was their plan, and then that got snuffed out in the first month. So now the game's just spiraling out of control financially. And
yeah,
I think,
it's a big mess, really.
Yeah, I think we suffer from it with these deadlines getting missed. One map being content. Like, anyways, I've ranted enough.
But we can just hope for the best, really, with it. Maybe, who knows, EA may give them that financial support again. I really, despite people thinking I just want this game to fail, I actually don't. I would love nothing more than for them to just be given that financial support so we can have all these amazing skins people want, and content just more frequently and more at that as well. That's all I'd want.
Oh, I agree. Well, thank you very much for joining me again for the third time, and hope you have
the most frequent guest on here then.
Yeah, that is, you have made it as the most frequent. There's a few people that have been on twice, but you are the first three-peat. So have a good Easter, and we'll be chatting soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. See ya.